Hi, this is Real Cinematography, coming at you with another video. Severance episode 10 was phenomenal. Everything about the cinematography, acting, writing, and pacing in this episode was perfect. It was easily the perfect ending to an amazing season 2. It was a real roller coaster of a ride. This episode had it all: FaceTime, romance, music, dancing, fighting, bloodshed, and of course baby goats. Hold on tight as we focus on Innie Mark's decision to stay in the Lumen building with Helly R and what ramifications that has for their future. Then we will explore some possibilities for season 3. Now let's get into it. The episode starts with Mark in the birthing cabin with Devin and Cobell. They explain the importance of saving Gemma before Cold Harbor is completed. Innie Mark is given a camcorder to listen to a recording made by Outie Mark. We see a conversation ensue between them, each explaining their side and exploring what the future holds, especially if reintegration were to happen. Outie Mark stresses how much he wants to free Gemma, and Innie Mark speaks of his own demise as well as every Innie on that severed floor. Outie Mark tries to reassure his Innie that once they reintegrate, he will always exist. But Outie Mark does not believe him. Innie Mark said, if that is true, how much of me will be there? You've lived much longer than me. Now Innie Mark makes a good point here. He has only been alive for 2 years. How much of him would exist after reintegration? His whole world is that severed floor. Those are his only memories. If he did remember those times at Lumen, it would make him very sad. It would not be a happy reintegration for him. Outie Mark is frustrated and calls Devin and Cobell for help. Cobell speaks to Innie Mark and tells him the hard truth, that he has worked on 24 files that were all changing Gemma's brain and taming her tempers, which created separate Innies, and that once he finishes Cold Harbor, she will die. He is expected to finish it tomorrow, and after that, Lumen will no longer need him, and therefore he will no longer exist. Only through reintegration can he still exist. Cobell tells him Gemma will die if he does not get her off the testing floor. Innie Mark is shaken up, feeling his guilt for helping to dismantle Gemma's tempers, even though he was not aware he was doing it. Faced with the decision that he will be deciding the fate of all the Innies upsets him, and he leaves angrily while questioning if Cobell is lying to him. Cobell does seem to want to help him, but we can't be sure what her real motives are. Now, maybe she is just using Mark to get back into Lumen's good graces, to prove to Lumen that reintegration is possible, and she is the only one that knows how to fix it. We see Mark at Lumen the next morning. Mark tells Helly what he needs to do. Helly encourages him to finish the file and do what Cobell and Outie Mark want. She said his reintegration gives him a chance to live and to also take Lumen down. Mark was emotional and said he wants to live with her. She said, Mark, I am her, meaning she is Helena also. She wishes they had more time together and maybe they could meet at the equator. A callback to season 1, episode 1, when they first met, when Mark asked her to name a state and she said Delaware. Mark smiled at the memory. Mark said, like a big building. She said, like a continent. Now, I believe this is foreshadowing what may happen in the next season. What if Mark and Helly stage an uprising among all the Innies? What if they take over the Lumen building, which is the equator, and have a standoff with the non-severed people outside? Mark is tearful, but he does finish the file. Helly creates a distraction for Mark to get to the testing floor to save Gemma. She tells him, see you at the equator. After a series of events, Innie Mark escapes through the exports hall, and then Outie Mark takes over on the testing floor in search of Gemma. He finds her in the Cold Harbor room. She walks out into the hallway and is herself again. She remembers him, and they happily embrace, rejoicing in finding each other again. Then the warning bells go off, and the lights turn red and flash. Mark and Gemma run to the elevators and go up to the severed floor. Once there, Innie Mark leads her to the exit door and tells her to go through it. She does, and then the door closes between them. Gemma tells him to come, but Mark hesitates. He knows if he goes, he will turn into Outie Mark, and he will vanish forever. Gemma tries the door handle, but it's locked. She begs Mark to come with her. Then he hears Helly calling his name. She is at the other end of the hallway. Mark is torn by what he should do. His sense of responsibility to Outie Mark and Gemma, or spend as much time as possible with Helly. And that's exactly what Mark does. He chooses Helly, and they both run down the hallway, holding hands. They have nowhere to run, but whatever they face, they want to face it together. Mark chooses life, as reintegration would most probably be the end of Innie Mark. Innie Mark's experience is limited to the severed floor. Therefore, he would have very little of himself existing in Outie Mark. And what if Outie Mark never bothered to reintegrate? Then Innie Mark would definitely no longer exist. He would die. His short life gone forever. How does he know he can trust his Outie or Cobell, for that matter? So he chose what he knows, what is safe and comforting to him, to be with those he cares for. He finally was able to make a choice, to have control over his life and maybe his destiny. He never had this opportunity before. Outie Mark would dress and go to Lumen, and Innie Mark would work there all day. He doesn't get to decide. Everything is decided for him. Milchick tells him what file to work on. He does what he is told, but faced with his death, he decided to take the reins. His feelings are natural. He is human. He has fears of not existing, a fear of death, a fear of change through reintegration. As humans, we don't like change. It brings on anxiety, and sometimes we have difficulty coping with it. We like sameness. It gives us comfort and security. Change is hard for most of us. Now Mark and Helly have made a decision. In this moment, they are taking charge of their lives and will do as they please for as long as they can. They will run until they can run no more. Now, building on my theory, if the innies take over the Lumen building and stage an uprising, it may get bloody. If we look at the flashing red lights in the hallways, we can say it could symbolize danger, bloodshed, and even death. It can also symbolize love overcoming the shadow of death. This episode has red throughout it. Red in the hallways, red from Drummond's blood on Mark's clothing. This episode was violent compared to the rest of the season, and even the whole series. I suspect we will see more of it. Interestingly, it was announced that Eli Journay of The Walking Dead and Dead City fame will be joining Severance Season 3 as co-showrunner under Dan Erickson and Ben Stiller. This leads me to believe that Season 3 will be bloody and filled with death. Another possibility is Jaime Egan wanting to keep Helly permanently and make Helena disappear. In this episode, Jaime told Helly he sees Keir in her. He used to be in Helena, but as she has grown, he left her. Jaime said he fathered many children looking for Keir in them, but could not find Keir until now. He said he does not love Helena because Keir isn't in her. I made a video talking about how Helena was unloved by her narcissistic father, Jaime. The link will be in the description below. James seems infatuated with Helly, and I wonder what plans he has for her. I wonder if Lumen has the technology to erase an outie, just like when Irving's innie was erased during the outdoor retreat. Maybe an outie can be erased as well. Helly could use that to her advantage, so she and Mark could live. But the question is, would Helly do that to Helena? Helly's sense of righteousness could cause her to have compassion for Helena and refuse it because she would be ending Helena's life so she could live. So those are my thoughts about this episode and predictions for next season. Now, I would like to hear your thoughts and theories. Share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you all in the next video soon.